Ah, yes, geographical arbitrage, where you can live in a much cooler place than where you currently do, but for so much cheaper. The goal of many FIRE or financial independence retire early individuals who want to spend their 40s retired and doing whatever they might want to do with, that is, strict spending, saving, investing, and all that good stuff. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just get into geoarbitrage. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jacob Fisher, and today we're talking about geographical arbitrage, which is pretty much the idea that you can live somewhere else and live there for a lot cheaper than where you currently live. Places like Mexico City or Bali are sort of hotspots for people who want to do this. But in this video, let's get into what geoarbitrage is, where you might find the best results, and if it's for you. Of course, we need to understand what geoarbitrage is when we talk about it. Basically, it is the practice of taking advantage of the differences in prices between various locations, and housing is the biggest expense when it comes to, well, everyone. Business Insider, at least according to them, Americans pay nearly 37% of their monthly income on housing. If we could just reduce that a bit, that would be incredible and save us a lot of money in the long run. To live cheaply, you need to spend less, so why not start on housing, which is kind of the premise of geoarbitrage. Let's say you get paid $100,000 a year for your precious software engineering job, but you can work anywhere in the country or world you want to, as long as you have internet. Why should you live in San Francisco when a studio apartment of 400 square feet will cost you $2,000 when you could live in a 4,000 square foot house for the same price in South Dakota? Fine, maybe you don't want to live in South Dakota, but you want to live in Mexico for $829 a month in this Airbnb I found? If you can do your job anywhere, then why pay exuberant rental costs when you could live somewhere else for cheaper? Sure, you get the experience of the city, you get to meet new people, and you can potentially further your career with those people, and maybe you just really like city living. All of this is true, but maybe you can do all of that in another place where you don't need to pay so much in rental costs or housing costs. I'm getting a little bit further away from the point here, so let's bring it back to geoarbitrage. I think we have a good understanding of what it is, and let's talk about the places you could go and if you could cope with being a vagabond or a digital nomad. Option one is you don't actually go somewhere, but rather you buy a van or a bus and then customize it so that you can live in it. That way you don't actually need to pay rent for a location, you just have to pay for the van and all the things associated with that. This is really option one because you could live anywhere you want to pretty much for cheap and wouldn't have to pay the high rent costs of San Francisco, for example. But let's get on to the more traditional approaches of living somewhere or some location. I found a great website called Nomad's List that I'll link down below. Pretty much it just tells you the best places to live and the estimated costs that you would have depending on your style of living. Let's take Lisbon, which is currently the #1 ranking on cost, internet, fun, and safety score. I do like how they included the safety score because I kind of want to know that where I'm going is a safe place and I don't have to worry about crimes and things like that. As you can see from the screenshot on the video, you could live in Lisbon for an $800 a month. If you live like a local, that would mean you don't live in a city and would be kind of around the city or renting outside of the city center. Though that kind of applies for every city. If you lived outside the city center or just, a few miles out, you would definitely be paying so much less in rent and housing. I wanted to check out Denver because why not? And it seems pretty accurate, at least for the costs that I've experienced. Though I'm not sure we can get an $8 dinner unless you're going to the food store. Beer is also a little bit on the cheap side, but let's get to Bali, where a lot of digital nomads live. It seems like you can live there for around $467 a month if you live like a local. That's honestly incredible. That's so just small for the cost of living compared to everything. If you work 40 hours a week, pretty much doing any job, you should be able to live in Bali for a, cheap amount and save a lot of money. Let's take a look at Airbnbs because, what if I wanted to live near a beach? And it seems like $654 a month for a 2-bedroom place is not bad at all. You could rent it out to someone, or I guess you could live there with another person, and that would divide your costs in half. I mean, it's just cheap to live there. I could look at places all day, but let's get into whether geoarbitrage is right for you. Think about where you live right now. What do you do every day? Who do you see? Do you enjoy yourself on the weekends? Do you have friends? All of those things you need to consider when you move somewhere. If you think you can leave all that behind, then geographical arbitrage just might be right for you. If you get excited about meeting new people and seeing new places, then again, maybe geoarbitrage is right for you. But you have to remember that if you go to a place like Bali or Mexico City, where a lot of tourists and vacationers go, then you probably won't see the same people next month that you've befriended this month. Unless you find people doing a similar thing to you, then all your friends will disappear when they go back to their work or where they actually live. It'll be an ever-revolving door of people that you meet and befriend, and then they just leave, and you're stuck there for the next group of friends to come in. Though if that sounds interesting to you, then consider doing it, because you can live a lot cheaper in some places. And maybe you could live on a beach, though. You can do that living near a job in a city. San Francisco, Philadelphia is not that bad. It's pretty close to a beach. That would probably be the biggest concern to me, is just people coming in and out and never establishing a true connection with somebody or some group of people, because everyone always just leaves. Though I don't think geoarbitrage is a bad idea. You don't need to leave the country, but you could move a little further away from where you are now to cut down on your housing costs. The concept of geoarbitrage is to make your dollar go further than what it actually does right now. That could also mean buying a home instead of renting your home, or buying a van or a school bus that you can customize to live in, and then you could live down the street from where you currently live, except you'll be in a van instead of a house. Honestly, that sounds like a really fun time. Maybe we need to create a second channel on van life, but I don't have a van, so that would be an issue. I also don't know how it would fit this giant computer. It's not that big, but that in there, that would be confusing. Though there is a great video on YouTube, maybe I'll link it down below, on a gaming person who put their gaming computer in their van. Let me know down in the comments what you think of geoarbitrage and if it would be right for you. I'm not so sure it'd be right for me, but I digress. I upload videos on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on travel and finance. If that sounds like of something interesting to you, make sure you subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.